So to trigger our automation from the apps builder, we have one automation here. This is a really simple automation that's going to go to Google, type something, and then click search. What we're going to do instead is we're going to make that our apps action trigger this flow to run, and the data that it sends will be used in the search instead of us always typing dogs. So first step is going to be setting up this trigger. We can click this and then select Webhook, since we want to use the Webhook trigger to connect it to apps. And this is giving us a unique URL that we will use from apps to trigger our automation. So I'll click copy here, and then we can click open apps builder so that we can work on our apps automation. So this is the apps automation that I'm going to be using to trigger my TaskMagic recording. We could use any sort of trigger here that we wanted. Then we would want to add an action of TaskMagic, and we can add any steps in between this, of course. This action is going to be start automation, and then we're going to enter the webhook trigger URL here, which is going to be what we copied earlier in the app from this screen right here. Next, we can add key value pairs, which are the variables that are to be used in our automation. So this looks like me adding something like search, and then I'll enter cats, for example. So next, what we can do is we can click test step to send this to TaskMagic to set up the rest of our automation. I'll click test step, and this is going to send this data to this webhook, which then is making that data appear here inside of the desktop app. This data that we're sending could be coming from our other steps here if we wanted to make that more dynamic, of course, instead of just sending something like this. We'll see we get a status 200, just a green check mark really, which is saying that this was successful. If I click check for new events here, we'll see that we now have one record, which is the cat record that I just sent over. If I was to do something else, and let's do frogs, just to keep it going, and I click retest, this is going to send another record that we could select from. In case we wanted to change this or we added new variables, we would want to retest this step and reselect the variables here so that they're available in our automation. So I'll click check for new events again, and now the most recent result is going to be frogs. If I click save trigger, I can now add that variable into my automation by clicking here to edit the type step, or we can click the three dots and then edit. Here, we're going to enter the variable by clicking the @ symbol and then selecting the one that we want to use. And then we can click save. Now, if I turn this on from desktop, and then I'm also going to enable some screen setting changes so that the browser shows while this runs. I'll click advanced settings and then screen settings, and I'm going to make it always show the browser when running, just for me to test this quickly. Now, if I was to change this to be horse, for example, and we click retest, this is going to start this automation from my desktop, and the data that I sent is going to be in place of this type step. So when this automation starts, you're going to see it open Google, and then it'll type horses because that's what we sent instead of typing @search or dogs or whatever we had it before. And that's allowing us to build a much more dynamic automation in case this data is coming from other sources and we want to be pasting that data somewhere else. So this is how you're going to use the apps builder to trigger TaskMagic as well as send data in that flow.